Hey guys, thanks for watching another Valerie Express video. Today I wanted to talk about how I got my MC and started my trucking company. Now, before we get started, keep in mind this is just my experience. I'm not saying this is the perfect way to do it. There are definitely things I would do differently today, but this is how it happened for me, and hopefully it helps somebody that's thinking about getting into trucking. So, before I even had my authority, before I had most of the paperwork done, I bought my truck. Now, that wasn't exactly the plan. At the time, I was working locally for another company, and my goal was actually to save more money first. I kept telling myself I was going to wait a little longer, save up a bigger emergency fund, get more prepared, and then buy the truck. But you know how it is sometimes. You start looking online, you start checking trucks out, you start running numbers in your head, and then one day I found a truck I really liked. I started thinking about it more and more, and eventually I bought it. Honestly, my original plan was to leave it parked while I continued saving money. I wasn't planning on jumping in right away. But once I had the truck sitting there, every day I would walk outside and look at it. I'd start imagining myself running loads, building my own company, and working toward having my own authority. I got excited. I got emotionally invested in it. Before I knew it, I was already thinking about the next step. Now, one thing I want to mention is that I didn't have a big emergency fund. Most people will tell you to have at least $10,000 saved up before you start. That's actually good advice. I didn't do that. I took a risk. I'm not recommending anybody do what I did. I'm just being honest about my situation. I spent almost everything I had getting started. Thankfully, nothing major happened, but looking back, having extra money set aside definitely would have reduced a lot of stress. The truck itself wasn't perfect either. I had a few air leaks. I had to replace some valves. I had some maintenance items that needed attention. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to remind me that trucks always need something. I think I spent around $500 fixing some of those issues before I really started moving forward. That's another reason why people recommend having money saved. Even when you buy a truck that seems fine, little things can come up. One thing I'm really glad I did was run under someone else's authority before getting my own. I found a small company. If I remember correctly, they had around 6 trucks. They gave me an opportunity to operate under their authority, and honestly, I think that helped me tremendously. At first, they booked the loads for me. I was learning how the industry worked, how brokers worked, how paperwork worked, how rate confirmations worked, how detention worked, how lumper fees worked, how appointments worked. There was a lot to learn. As time went on, they started giving me more responsibility. Eventually, they gave me access to the load boards, and I started searching for loads myself. I started understanding freight rates, negotiating with brokers, planning routes, and learning things that you really can't learn from a YouTube video alone. I ended up running under that company for about 8 months. Looking back, I think that was one of the smartest decisions I made because I got to make mistakes before I had my own authority. After about 8 months, I felt ready to start preparing for my own MC. The first thing you're going to need is a business. In most cases, people form an LLC. The process depends on the state where you live. In my case, I went through my state's business registration process. Usually, you can go directly to your state's Department of State website and create the company yourself. Some people use attorneys or business formation services, but in many states, you can do it yourself online. Once you have your company set up, you're going to need an EIN, which is your federal tax ID number. A lot of people pay someone to do this for them. You'll see people charging $75, $100, sometimes even more. Personally, I always tell people to at least look at doing it themselves first because you can get an EIN directly from the IRS for free. The IRS website walks you through the process, and it usually doesn't take very long. After I had the business and EIN, I started working on my authority. You'll need a USDOT number and an MC number. You apply through the FMCSA. The process can change over time, so always check the FMCSA website for the latest requirements and fees. When I did mine, I remember paying around $300 for the authority application. Again, verify the current amount because fees can change. Once the application is submitted, that's where a lot of people think they're done, but you're really just getting started. You're going to need a BOC-3 filing. The BOC-3 designates process agents in each state. There are companies that specialize in handling this, and many of them can complete it for you online. You're also going to need UCR registration. UCR stands for Unified Carrier Registration, and most interstate carriers need it. The fee depends on the size of your fleet, but for a small carrier with one truck, it's usually one of the smaller startup costs. At the same time, you should start shopping for insurance. This is one of the biggest expenses you'll have when starting your trucking company. Don't just call one insurance company and accept the first quote. Get multiple quotes, ask questions, compare coverages, compare deductibles, compare payment plans. Insurance costs can vary dramatically depending on your experience, equipment, location, and several other factors. Once your insurance company files everything with the FMCSA and your other requirements are completed, eventually your authority becomes active. That's a big moment. It feels great when you finally see it active because you've spent so much time getting everything together. Around that same time, I started working on getting my company information on the truck. I actually created my logo myself. I'm also a web developer, so I enjoy that type of thing. I used an app and spent around $25 creating the logo. Then I found a local company that printed the decals for me. I think I paid around $200 for the decals. I installed them myself. The company name, USDOT number, MC number, and all the required information went on the truck. If you're comfortable doing that yourself, great. If not, there are plenty of sign companies that can install everything for you. Now, one thing people don't always talk about is that having your authority active doesn't automatically mean every broker is going to work with you. Many brokers have minimum authority age requirements. Some want 90 days, some want 6 months, some want a year. Every broker is different. That's another reason why I think getting experience under another company first can be valuable. By the time I got my own authority, I already understood a lot of the basics and had realistic expectations. As the business started growing, I initially managed everything with spreadsheets. That's what a lot of people do in the beginning. I tracked loads, expenses, settlements, and documents using spreadsheets. It worked for a while, but as things grew, it became harder to keep everything organized. Because I'm a web developer, I eventually decided to build my own transportation management system. I originally built it for my own trucking company. Over time, that system became Ronex, but honestly, when you're first getting started, don't overcomplicate things. Focus on learning the business, understanding your numbers, building relationships, and operating safely. If I could go back and give myself one piece of advice, it would be to be patient. Don't rush just because you're excited. Learn as much as possible, ask questions, talk to other trucking company owners, build relationships, get experience. The authority is important, but the real learning starts once you're actually operating the business. Hopefully, this video helped somebody that's thinking about starting a trucking company or getting their authority. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching another Valerie Express video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.